Nah, they did not. They came to take the marijuana trade. They took it, and that's why they legalized marijuana in Canada. Because our oppressor is aggressive. He's not satisfied. He's not chilling. He's not relaxed. He doesn't take things easy. He is a competitor. And I'm telling you right now, by the power of Yahawashi, brother, who of course is a Salakia, by the power that Commanding General YAHANNA gave me, that he gained from Yahawashi Christ. I'm telling you the truth, that in the UPK, we keep a competitive spirit to save the lives of our brothers, man, to save our brothers' lives. Because in Canada, our brothers are happy enough to just relax and smoke and drink all day, while our oppressor gobbles up more of their lives. We're going to go over that today. I'm going to show you how it works in science. I'll show you where the demon lives in the brain scientifically. It's called an altered reward system. That's the technical term for addiction. An altered reward system, all right? We'll go over that today. After I answer all of your questions. You understand? And anything else you might have out, the story you want to go over about that mass grave, let's go over that as well, all right? Okay, do you brothers have any questions I can answer for you? Maya, do me a favor, give me the regular soda. Give me whatever we have, all right? You brothers have any questions I can answer for you at all? If so, just let me know. Is somebody talking? We good to go here? It seems like you're talking, brother, but I can't hear you. Try it again. I'm sorry, Aban, can you hear me?
Khan, I can hear you, sir. The brother's real low.
Okay. Warrior Trooper Barak, what's your name again? Barak Yala? Are you able to speak up a little bit so I can hear you out?
Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Can you get any louder or no?
Can you hear me now?
That's a little better. Give me your question.
Can I get a breakdown of Leviticus chapter 26, verse 41? What does it mean to have an uncircumcised heart?
No problem. Good question. He asked for Leviticus. What Leviticus where?
26 and 41.
Leviticus 26 and 41. Solid. Officer Abun, can you read for him, please?
Khan, sir, I'm grabbing it now on my phone. Right here. I'm Slacky. Also, if I could, everyone in the Slacky General, if I could, everyone in the chat, if you could share the video on Facebook, share the YouTube link as well. All the groups on Facebook, Twitter, what have you. 26.
Right away, sir.
Okay. Leviticus chapter 26 and verse 41. And that I also have walked contrary unto them, and have brought them into the land of their enemies. If then their uncircumcised hearts be humbled, and they then accept of the punishment of their iniquity. His question was on uncircumcised heart, sir.
Uncircumcised heart. Give me the precepts for uncircumcised heart when Paul said it. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart. I'll explain to you what an uncircumcised heart is, right? The law of circumcision is in the book of Genesis, right? This is the law of circumcision. Upon the birth of any male child in Israel, when he was 8 days old, he was ordered by the law to go into the temple, and his parents had to have the foreskin of his penis cut off. Now, some of you might not know about that, but when you're a little child, put some ice in there, please. When you're a little child, you're born with extra skin on your penis, right? Most Benjamite countries, West Indian countries, they leave the foreskin on. Now in America and Canada, I believe, in the States and Canada, I believe that they circumcise the babies in the hospital. Is that correct in Canada? Okay, so that skin is removed in these two countries, but every baby has an extra portion of skin on his penis. Well, in Israel, our parents had to have that skin removed when we were 8 days old, because the removal of that skin indicated that that boy was dedicated to keeping the law of God. So at 8 days old, he went through pain, suffering, and he did it for the Most High's law. And so in that way, it made sure that as soon as the baby was born, he suffered for the law. Do you understand, Trooper? Trooper, that every baby, every male child suffered, felt pain for the law. Give it to me when Moses demanded that his son be circumcised and his wife objected. You familiar with that, Abun, or anyone else?
I can grab it for you, sir.
3. So that's what a circumcision is. The physical circumcision is the circumcision of your penis. Your penis is circumcised, which means the skin, the extra layer of skin, is taken off of the head of your penis. All right? That's the circumcision that the law dictates and talks about. But the Spirit of Christ, even in the Old Testament, which is what we're reading about now, always talked about making that commitment in your mind. The same way that a parent would have to make a commitment to go in there and have their baby cut when he's 8 days old. Yeah, you can imagine how it feels. You can imagine the kind of pain that child goes through. But a parent does it anyway, because that parent wants that child to be dedicated to the Most High. The parent wants that child to be devoted to the law. The parent wants that child to make a covenant, with God. What is a covenant? A bond. And we all knew that if you were willing to have the foreskin of your baby's penis cut off at 8 days old, that parent was serious and sincere about that baby joining into the bond that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had with the Most High. Let me show you Moses doing the same thing. Go ahead.
Khan. Exodus chapter 4, verse 25. Then Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut off the foreskin of her son and cast it at his feet and said, surely a bloody husband thou art unto me.
Moses demanded that his son be circumcised, and his wife did it, and then threw the bloody foreskin at Moses' feet and said, you're a bloody husband, because Moses' wife was a heathen. She was a heathen woman, and she hated our culture and our customs, and she hated our law of circumcision. And when so finally she complied to Moses and said, take the bloody foreskin, you bloody man. Because Moses was dedicated to his son joining the Most High God. Well, what is a circumcision of your mind? That's when you decide up here, Trooper Barak Ya Allah, up here to make a commitment to God, to make a commitment, to make a bond with the Most High God. And that bond is deeper than a bond in your flesh. It's more important than circumcising your penis, because that bond is made here. And here is when you decide who you are, up here. Not on your penis, not in your body, but up here is where a man makes the commitment. A man chooses who he's going to be. And who will always interfere with that choice? The other nations. So many people think that we hate the other nations because we're racist and we're evil men. What they do not understand is that the reason that we tell our people to separate from those other nations is because if we do not separate from the other nations, we can never join our God. We can't be with him because the other nations demand that we separate from God.
It's like it, sir.
Demand that we, I'm sorry, Abun.
So, like, sir, I had the precept in Deuteronomy, circumcise the foreskin of your heart. So, like, sir.
Please stand right there. Hold that one if you could.
Come on.
The Africans, the so-called Africans, the Hamites, the Arabs, all of them demand that we join with them. And so because of that, we can't join God because they won't allow it. We show the Lord so much love, and we show our brothers so much love by separating from Africans, by separating from our oppressor, because in that we truly can come together with one another. We can come together with God. And any good oppressor, any good African would applaud us for separating from them so we could join one another together, so we could be with each other and be with our God. They should reward us for what we're doing. But what happens time and time again, we can't make the commitment up here because someone doesn't want us to. If it's not the other nations, it is what else? Addiction. Addiction won't let you circumcise your heart. Alcoholism won't let you circumcise your heart because you already have a covenant with alcoholism. You already have a covenant with smoking weed. So your addictions will never let you join to the Most High God. Go ahead, Officer Abun.
This book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 16. Circumcise, therefore, the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked.
That's in the Old Testament, because the Lord always wanted that, man. The circumcision of our penis was an outward expression of the love your parents had for you and for the Most High God. But the true circumcision has to be done in your mind. Circumcising your heart, the definition of it, the translation of it is make the commitment to join to the Lord in your mind. Make that commitment. Do you understand, Trooper?
Khan.
That's what we teach in the UPK. Now, this is what I need all of you to understand. You can't make that commitment if you're an alcoholic. Now, an alcoholic already has a commitment to what? Who knows? Anyone? Please, officer.
So, yes, sir. An alcoholic has his commitment is to the bottle, sir.
That's his commitment. He can't make two. He can't make two commitments. Alcohol is jealous. Alcoholism is a jealous demon. He can't make two commitments. A marijuana user cannot make a commitment to God because he already has one. What's that commitment? What commitment does a marijuana user have? Officer.
Salaki, I'm a trooper.
I'm sorry, Trooper. Please.
It's the weed, sir.
Yeah, that's his commitment. And let me tell you something else that they won't tell you in Canada. If you smoke weed and you're an alcoholic, you already have a commitment, which means not only can you not commit to God, but you also cannot commit to your brother. You can't commit to your family.
Right.
You can't commit to your wife and your children. You have a commitment already. Drugs and alcoholism. You made your commitment. In the UPK, we bring families together. We bring communities together by separating from drug addiction, separating from alcoholism. Everybody understands. We good to go here? You understand right now, brother? I think I good there. Warriors, did you have any questions I could answer for you? If you have any questions, I'll answer them right now. Let me get Officer Sharyuan.
Salaki, other one. I had heard in Clubhouse today somebody saying that Leviticus 20 and verse 13 was speaking about a man sleeping with a little boy. They were saying that the man and the mankind in the Hebrew was referring to pedophilia. It was the first time I heard that argument, and I was just wondering how you would break that down.
All right, let's read it out. Go ahead and read it.
Khan. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13.
Mhm.
If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination.
Okay, so he's saying that mankind is talking about children.
Yeah, they were saying that that Jewish rabbis have broke this verse down to say that it's an old man sleeping with a young child, a little woman.
What else do Jewish rabbis do? You know? Go ahead.
I know they touch little boys. They mess with boys right from young.
Well, it's a little worse than that. It's worse than child molestation because they suck the penis of the baby by religious rite. During their circumcision, a man called a moil puts wine in his mouth and then sucks the penis of the baby to stop the bleeding from the circumcision cut. Every Jewish man who has been circumcised has had his penis sucked by a rabbi. The rabbi's name is a moil. Have you brothers heard of what I'm saying before? Yerad, you want to say something?
No, sir.
Have you've all heard of this before, correct? Yeah, so clearly Jewish people do not believe that child molestation is wrong. They believe that child molestation is a religious obligation. That's what they believe. Now, I'll explain why it could not be talking about children. It's because of context, right? That's an important thing. Context is to understand the context of anything is to understand the true meaning of a thing. That true meaning is woven in between the words. It's the spirit of the law. Now, how do you know for a fact that mankind is talking about men? How do you know that for a fact? It's right in front of your face. The term women. That's how you know. Read it one more time, Sharyuan. Officer Sharyuan. Go ahead and read it.
Khan. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman.
Stop. That's how you know. You know because of as he lie with a woman. Meaning the thing you do with a woman, you can do with a man. What is mankind? Meaning any man. Any man. Period. Right? If you do with a woman, if you do this with any man, there are all kinds of men. You got men of your race, of your nation, men of other races, other nations. If you do anything with any kind of man, do you understand? Hell, listen, today you have men who wear dresses and wear wigs, and they call themselves transsexuals. And according to Canada, they are women. Am I saying something you never heard of?
La, so I've heard that before.
Okay, well, guess what a guess what a transsexual is? A transsexual is a kind of man. A transsexual is mankind. It's a whole different kind of man. It's a man who has a woman's name, a woman's clothing. Sometimes they have breasts, and sometimes they have vaginas. Do you understand me?
Sir.
They have a vagina that they bought from a doctor at the vagina sale. Bought it at the vagina store. Well, guess what? That's mankind. That's still a man. Chinese men, Japanese men, oppressors, whatever. You cannot do with a man, any kind of man. You can't do that with a woman. Does everybody understand?
Sir.
Child molestation is, of course, against the law as well. It's against the law of sex, the sex laws in the Bible, which prescribes to you exactly who you should have sex with, which is a woman of marriageable age. That's it. That's according to the law. The only thing that you could have sex with is a woman of marriageable age. Everyone understands. So we good to go ahead? No problem. Any other questions?
Khan, sir. Salakia, sir. Salakia, sir. General, can I get a breakdown for 1 Samuel 5 and 6? Salakia, 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 5 and 6.
Let's get it on.
Khan Adon Khan. This is 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 5. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord shut up her womb. Verse 6. And her adversary also provoked her sore, to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. Salakia, sir. My question was, for verse 5, was this a precept for loving one rib more than the other when the Lord shut up her womb?
Okay, now I'm not exactly sure what the context of this scripture is. You might have to read above it so I could remember it. But shutting up her womb meant that she was unable to have children. If that's your question, that's your answer. She was not able to have children. Like, imagine a woman who has some illness or sickness, like fibroids, or some type of illness where she's unable to give birth. She's unable to have a child. There are many different disorders and diseases that can prohibit a woman from giving birth to a child. So her womb was shut up, meaning she could not have a child. And because of that, she was mocked and ridiculed and depressed because she could not give forth a child. That's the point of that precept, if that's your question, all right? All right, any other questions? Go ahead, warrior.
It's about Christ walking on water. Like, how would I explain that to a Christian? Because, I'm not too sure about like the breakdown of that. If I could get a breakdown on the walking on water.
Got you. Christ, someone pull up the precept real fast, and I'll explain. Okay. Okay. Whenever you get it, let me know. All right. Christ walking on water is a very important scripture and a very important event in the lives of the disciples of Christ. It taught them a very important lesson that they did not understand until later. They didn't get this lesson until later. But later on, they understood why he did this. All right. Later on. And so let's read it quickly. All right. Whenever you get it, brother, read it.
You want me to read it, or you want the brother to read it?
Let the officer read it. Just tell him where it is, Aban.
Go to Matthew 14, and you can go to verse 24 for the context. It's in verse 25 when he's actually walking. But there's verses that explain it.
Would you like me to read, sir?
Yes, I would, brother. What's your name, Mark?
Saquad.
Officer Saquad, is that correct?
Yeah, Trooper Saquad.
Trooper Saquad, the water warrior. Go ahead and read.
This is the book of Matthew 14, verse 24. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. So
this was a time when Christ and the disciples had to travel. Traveling is an important thing to a disciple of Christ, to a brother in the UPK. You got to get in your car. You got to go to a different city. For the city to have the truth, the city has to have you. You have to go to that city. The truth is a thing that only comes with the man who has it. So if you want to bring the truth to Quebec, or bring the truth to Saskatchewan, or bring the truth to some other city round about you, you have to go to that city because the truth is in you. And the brothers in that city and the sisters have to see you, see how you behave, see how you make decisions. So when you get to a city, the truth is in the city. So because of that, traveling is a part of this job. Well, this is one day where they had to get on a boat and travel. Well, here's the problem. When they got on a boat this day, there was a tremendous storm that went on while they were trying to travel. Tempestuous, what's the word for it? Tempestuous or tempest waves? Tempest waves, meaning waves that tossed the boat to and fro. A terrible storm happened while they were traveling. Trouble happened while they were traveling. That's the point you need to understand right here. Right? Trouble. It got dangerous to travel doing the work of the Most High God. It got very dangerous that day. And you brothers should understand this because this day is coming for you. Keep going.
Verse 25. And in the fourth watch of the night, Christ went unto them, walking on the sea.
Let me explain that fourth watch part. Does anyone know about that fourth watch part? The fourth, okay, when you're guarding anything, you break up the night into parts that men will stay awake and other men will sleep, right? And that's the watch. So there are, I'm not sure how many watches there are. I can't recall, but you can look it up. There might be 4 watches or it might be 6. I'm not sure. You can Google that, where you break up the night into parts, 4 hours, 5 hours, I can't recall. And somebody stays awake while the rest of the men sleep. And they know how much time each man has to watch. Each man has to stay awake and watch for danger. And they call it a watch. Everybody understands. Like a watchman. A watchman is a guard. So a watch is the amount of time that each guard has to stay awake and watch. Good to go? Go ahead.
25, verse 26. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit." And they cried out for fear.
So now in the middle of the night, the fourth watch, now they're asleep on the boat. Remember, they're asleep, but who was awake? Who knows? Who was holding guard that night? Mm-hmm. Can you guess? Can you guess by the context who was holding guard? Go ahead, warrior.
Somebody else, like I'm looking, I'm going to assume it was Peter. If you read down, if you drop down.
Well, let me hear it.
Verse 28, it says, and Peter answered him and said,
Peter was up. Peter was up on his watch. Everyone else was asleep. And Peter looks up and Christ is out walking on the damn water. Walking. And he looks out on the dark, waves and a angry sea and sees a man out there walking and he thinks it's a demon. He thinks it's a demon out there on the water. But then he hears a voice. Keep going.
Verse 27, but straightway Christ spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid.
So then right before he says, oh my God, there's a demon on the water, he hears the voice of Christ saying, don't be afraid of. It's me. It's Yahawashi. Be of good cheer, man. Cheer up. Cheer up. Cheer up. That's another terrible demon in Toronto. What's the city in Toronto that brothers live in? Obecta?
Toronto will be the city, sir.
But there's another city on the tip of my tongue. Obecta? No, the other one.
Ottawa.
Not Ottawa. Oh,
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Could it be Etobicoke?
Etobicoke. Are any of you brothers from Etobicoke?
Yes, sir. That's where we're at right now.
Go ahead.
That's where we're at right now, sir.
Oh, of course. Shout out to Etobicoke, man. Give yourselves a hand. Etobicoke. I can't wait to see Toronto and Etobicoke and all of the cities that you brothers are holding down. Well, guess what? You know what a terrible demon is in Etobicoke, in Toronto, in Montreal? Depression. Depression is a terrible demon. So many of you run to marijuana and run to alcohol abuse because of depression. Depression. Well, in the work of the Lord, Christ is trying to teach a lesson to us this day, 2,000 years ago. He was trying to teach us something, man. He was trying to teach us how to handle the depression that will come with doing this job and trying to put your past behind you, trying to change your life. Peter was about to go, oh my God. Peter was about to get afraid because there were great waves on the sea. They were already afraid. How do you know for a fact they were already afraid? I just almost gave you the answer. Before they saw Christ on the water, they were already scared. How do you know?
Because, Salakia, sir, you know, because of the way they describe how the ship was moving on the waves.
Give him a hand, everyone. Exactly. You know what this precept is about, brother? This precept is about fighting fear, fighting depression. While you're afraid of the waves and the water, you're serving a king who walks on water, And so as Peter was sitting there scared to death, thinking he was going to drown from the boat being capsized and overturned, he looks out on the fourth watch and sees Christ walking on water. And Christ said to him, fear not. Be of a good heart, man. Cheer up, because it's me. I'm out here on this water. And that's what we all have to remember. We are not alone, man. We're not alone. Some of us have been alone our whole lives, come from families who rejected us, come from a world that only cared about drugs. They never cared about you. And so we feel alone, but we are not alone. He is there with us. When the storm is tempestuous and the waves kick up, he is there with us. That's the first thing you need to understand about this precept. And what is he doing, brother? He's out there performing a miracle. When the Bible says he walked on water, brother, he actually walked on water. Do you understand? He walked on water. He walked straight up and down on water, and that's that. That's what he did. Walk on water. Keep going.
And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water.
Now he said, Lord, if it's you, if that's you out there, then let me come out there with you. Now think about that, brothers. Isn't that what we all want? All of us in this room, man, we want to be with Christ, man. That's why we're here. That's why we make this sacrifice. That's why we give up marijuana and alcohol. Now, if you're still smoking, you don't want to be with Christ. You want to get high. If you're an alcoholic, you don't want to be with Christ. You want to get drunk. But those of you that actually are out here, brother, you out here because you want to be with Christ, man. You want to be his man. You want to be his servant. So Peter asked, Lord, if it's you, let me come out there with you. I want to join you out there on the water where it's dangerous and there's a storm. Let me come out there with you. Keep going.
Verse 29. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Christ.
So Peter got out there on that water and he walked on the water too. Now, once again, so many people read about precepts like this and they think this is impossible, which of course is the lesson he's trying to teach you. What Christ is always trying to teach when he performed miracles, he's trying to expand your mind to the possibilities. To the possibilities, man. Right now, your brain can't understand how a man could walk on water. But of course, that's just one thing your mind can't understand. Your mind also can't graduate from high school. Your mind also can't get a career. Your mind also can't protect your children. Your mind also can't even find a place to live or find a way to teach your children. So I'm not shocked. Your mind, you don't know how to stop smoking weed. So I'm not shocked that you think it's impossible to walk on water. I know you do. Now, how did the Most High do something like that? However he works science. Science is an amazing and a beautiful thing. And science is of the Lord's work. Who knows what he did with the wind? Maybe he blew a strong wind. It was already windy out there. Maybe he blew a strong wind that kept Christ right above the water, blowing. Where the wind blew and kept Christ risen above the water. Maybe he did that. Maybe he walked on a row of dolphin backs. I don't know how in the hell he got up there, but I know this much, he did it. Now, what can I do? Is there something I can do that other people will say, that's a miracle? That's amazing. That's the point of this precept. Christ said, Peter said, let me come out there with you. Peter got out there and Peter walked on water too. Keep going.
Gone out of one con. Verse 30. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid.
He was what?
He was afraid.
Oh man. Now remember now, Peter was afraid of the wind while he was doing what? Who knows?
While he was sitting in the boat watching, doing the fourth watch.
Oh, that's when he first was afraid. But then he was also afraid of the wind when? Go ahead.
When he was walking on the water, sir?
Do you understand how ridiculous that is? Go ahead, Officer Ayadar, what do you want to say?
So like I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Most High in Christ. He was walking on water and still got scared of the wind. Still was afraid of the wind while he was walking on water. Keep going.
And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me.
He began to sink. Why did he sink? Who knows? Go ahead, warrior.
He started to sink because
turn that fan on.
Faith, I'm guessing.
Right. He began to sink. Why?
Because he was losing his faith that he could walk on.
Well, let's speak in more plain terms, please. No light though. Turn the light bulb so the light doesn't come on. Don't turn the light on. Just turn the fan on. So what? Now let's speak in more plain terms. Peter began to faint because what? Go ahead, young brother in the back. Go ahead.
Sir. He began to sink because he was scared, sir.
Give him a hand. That's why he sank. He got scared. Fear. Fear. What in the hell did he get afraid of? He was already doing something that was a miracle. He was walking on water. Yet when he focused on the thing that was attempting to make him afraid, his focus left the thing that had him doing a miracle. And that's what life is about, man. Life is about focus. What do you focus on? While you're fighting a war to save the lives of your loved ones, of your brothers and sisters, do you focus on saving their life? Do you focus on helping people? Do you focus on being kind and righteous to the people that you are sent to serve? Or do you focus on the people who are trying to stop you? What do you do? Who do you focus on? Because whoever you give focus to is going to get your attention. And if fear gets your attention, you're going to sink. But if Christ keeps your attention, you will do something greater than walking on water. Does everyone understand?
God.
Keep reading.
Verse 31. And immediately Christ stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith.
O thou what?
O thou of little faith.
O thou what?
O thou of little faith.
So now we know what breaks faith. What breaks faith? Who knows? Go ahead, warrior.
Losing focus.
You're right, but give me this answer. Fear.
Fear.
Fear. Focusing on fear. giving your focus to fear, that breaks your faith, man. You can't, and you cannot be in the UPK if you're a coward. That's why since 1969, one of our many bold statements has been no cowards. Because we know that if you're a coward, you cannot serve the Lord. You brothers in Canada had a coward leave your camp a few weeks ago or something like that, right?
That's right.
That's the same thing, man. That's the exact same thing. You cannot be a coward and live this life, because this life is for heroes. Now, you can be in a fake Israelite group and do all types of little Shabbat Israelite services, but you can't be in the UPK. And why will it be much easier for you to be in a fake Israelite group than to be in the UPK? Whoever can answer this question for me, I will be highly impressed. It is far easier to be in that brother that left the truth and joined that fake Israelite group. I'm not surprised. He always seemed to be someone who was soft and weak. But you brothers gave him great patience. Give yourselves a hand for being patient with that brother, man. You brothers did the right thing. And you should always be patient and kind with brothers who are not strong. Give them your patience. Help them. If you see a brother could be overtaken in a fault, help that brother. You see, he might not be. That brother was not very masculine. He was not a very masculine brother. And I know you brothers noticed it, but you helped him. You were kind to him. And you did the right thing. And I'm proud of all of you, man, for how you treated that brother, because you're going to get thousands of brothers to give your kindness to. But there was a fatal flaw in that ban. What was the flaw? It is much easier to be a Christian, a Muslim, a politician, a fake Israelite. It's easier to be those things than to serve the Lord in the UPK because of what? Who wants to give it a shot? See me one more time, my young, please. Go ahead, Shadi.
Khan Salakia Adawan. I'm loosely paraphrasing, but I believe Paul was telling us to be good soldiers and to hold our post.
Okay, but that's not my question. You're right. But why would someone prefer a fake Israelite group that accepts Africans, that accepts oppressors, rather than joining the UPK? Because in that group, he will, I almost gave you the answer. Let me see if the trooper knows. Trooper Barak Ya'ala? Trooper, do you know the answer?
He'll do whatever he wants.
You're close. You're close to it. You're right. You're almost right. Give the trooper a hand. You're correct. That's one of the two reasons. In the fake Israelite groups, he'll get to smoke weed, he'll get to be an alcoholic, and in that brother's case, he'll get to be a homosexual, Salakia. He will get to be a LGBTQ community member. But there's another reason that it's far easier to be in a fake Israelite group. If you were in a fake Israelite group, if you were a Christian, you would not be afraid anymore. You wouldn't be scared. Because no one would call you a racist. No one would say you're in a cult. No one would look you up on YouTube and look you up on Facebook and see you're in this crazy group. Oh my God. No. You be in a group that has Africans and white people. You be in a much more quiet group, a much more polite group. And because you're with them, you're not scared anymore. Because when he was in the UPK, he was scared to death, terrified.
Right.
And so he leaves the truth because he focused on the people who were telling him to get out of the truth instead of focusing on Christ, who had him walking on water. Go ahead, Officer Ayadar, what do you want to say? Officer Ayadar. He is. I think his thing is frozen. You wanted to say something now? See me with the chaser, the shoulder, please, man. Go ahead, Doc.
So it's like
I think is that his phone freezing up, or computer freezing up?
Well,
Yeah, he's freezing up, sir. Officer Adair, you can message me your question or comment. I can relay it to the general.
nah, that's my computer, sir.
No problem. What's your question? Go ahead and say it. It's all right. I better move on. Somebody give me Matthew 13. Does anyone have any more questions?
Salakia, sir. I do have one question.
Go ahead, warrior.
Again, it's from First Samuel's. Salakia, Adawan. Let me get it.
Go ahead, please.
Khan, Adawan, Khan. This is First Samuel's chapter 2 and verse 8. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill to set them among the princes and to make them inherit the thrones of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. Salakia, Adawan, I was asking, what are the pillars of the earth?
The pillars of, okay, do you know what a pillar is? Why don't you look that up for a second? Look up what a pillar is. That might help you out.
One moment, Adawan.
Take your time, brother.
A pillar is this is from the it's from a dictionary. It's from the Webster Dictionary.
Hold your point 1 second. Let me get Matthew 13 and 9, Officer Bun. Hold on to that, all right? I'm sorry. Matthew 13 and 19.
Come.
All right. Go ahead, brother. Please read.
Khan. A pillar, a noun, a firm upright support for a superstructure.
There you go. That's what you need. A firm upright support for a superstructure. So imagine a gigantic building. A pillar are those big stone things that hold up a roof on a giant building. A pillar were those two things that Samson put his arms on and pushed down. Those are pillars. Someone, give me a picture of a pillar. The pillar of a house or something. Put it up on the screen for everyone to see what a pillar is. All right? Or anyone can. So a pillar is a big stone thing that holds up a roof or holds up any structure. Do you understand that, Officer Yarad? Okay, now go back to that precept, please.
Salakia, sir.
Read your precept one more time.
Khan. 2 Samuel 2 verse 8. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust.
He does what?
Raises up the poor out of the dust.
You need to remember this for later. He raises the poor from out of the dust. What is dust? Dirt. Dirt is dust. So he takes the poor brother who's living in the dirt, and he raises him up and gives him a position of authority. That's what Commanding General YAHANNA is doing in Toronto. And say the name of that city again you live in. Ubekwa?
This region of the city that we're in, it's like Brooklyn or Harlem. It's called Etobicoke.
Etobicoke. So what do you refer to it as? Etobicoke or Brooklyn?
Not Salakia, sir. I was just Salakia, sir. I was just giving like a description, like how you have New York City, and then you have Harlem, and you have Brooklyn.
I understand.
In Toronto's Etobicoke, sir.
Etobicoke, and you refer to the city as Etobicoke, correct?
Khan Adon Khan.
Most High in Christ. Well, I'm sure there are so many poor and homeless people in Etobicoke. Poor people. Can everyone see me?
Salaki, sir.
Okay,
That's
something
like
happened.
the brother trying to share a picture of the pillar.
Oh,
but
okay,
it's
the
taking-
brother's sharing something.
Right.
Let me know when he's done, Abun, all right?
Khan.
So no one can see me right now, is that correct?
Wow, they can only see the brother because he's trying to share the screen right now. The picture of a pillar, sir.
Solid. It's taking a long time to load on my screen. Is it doing the same for you?
Khan. It's just him right now. I mean, we could just have them look up a pillar on their own if you wanted to, sir. It's up to you.
Solid. Let's stop. Let's go back to me. I'll just look up a picture of a pillar on your phones on your own. All right.
Khan.
Just come back to me whenever you're ready.
Khan, we're back to you, sir.
Okay, solid. Go ahead.
Salaki, sir.
Mm-hmm.
He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill.
So you get the point of all that, brother. He takes a poor man living in Etobicoke, poor and homeless, living in a tent city, and he makes him a he makes him a trooper, then he makes him an officer, then he makes him a captain, then he makes him a general. And that man rises up and saves the lives of people who were just as poor as he was. And now he becomes a hero and a champion to the weak and afflicted. And he can do that with a brother who is poor and homeless in Etobicoke. He can do that with him. He also can do what else? Read that last part again.
Khan Adon Khan. And lifted up the beggar from the dunghill.
And he lifted up the beggar from the dunghill. Fix the screen, warrior. Go back to the screen where we're all on the screen together.
Khan.
You're having some trouble, no sweat. Read that last part again.
Khan Adon Khan. And lifted up the beggar from the dunghill.
And he lifts up the beggar from the dunghill. So you get the same thing happening. Some brother who is living in a low estate, suffering in poverty. He's living in a dunghill. You know what dung is, right? He's living in a dunghill, feces from a cow. That's what dung is, the feces of a cow. He's living in that. He lifts him up and does what? Read that again.
He lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill.
Keep going.
To set them among princes.
You understand that? So some poor brother suffering and in poverty, now he's a chieftain. Now he's a captain. Now he's in charge. Now people come to him when they're poor and they need food. That's going to happen to you brothers in Toronto, man. That's going to happen to you brothers in Etobicoke. You are going to be the only way that your people can eat, that your people can survive. They're going to have to come to you. They're going to have to come to you and find you so that some drug dealer doesn't kill them. Drug dealers are not going to kill people because you are going to give the order that that man is not to be harmed. Now, remember, I said that this day. You're going to give that order that that man is not to be harmed. And drug dealers are going to stand down. And they're going to put away their weapons, brother. You're going to save the lives of so many people in Toronto, man. So many people in Montreal. You're going to save their lives. And the same brothers who at one time were poor and homeless, now you are going to be a hero to your community. Keep going.
To set them among princes and to make them inherit the throne of glory.
Now you heard that. Now why did it say inherit? Inherit, who knows why? Because you get this throne because of who your forefathers are. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They were the rulers of the world, and now you are going to sit in their seat. We lost it for so long because of our sin. Our sins had us living in a terrible, impoverished condition. But now, because of the truth, man, because of the ability to be born again, we are going to rise out of the dust, rise out of the dunghill, and rule Canada. Keep going.
Khan out of one Khan. For the pillars of earth, Salakia, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's.
Read that again.
For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's.
Now I have a question for you, officer. What are the pillars of the earth?
Salakia, sir. Could it be the law, statutes, and commandments?
No. What are the pillars of the earth, officer in the back with the white shirt?
What, sir? If I could, General, would that would be our brothers here. That'd be the brothers in the UPK, sir.
Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Remember, a pillar is a giant, is a thing strong that holds up a superstructure. That's a pillar. What are the pillars of the earth? You are the pillars of the earth. You. And the Most High is going to raise you up, and the entire planet is going to rest on you. That's a tremendous burden. That's a heavy burden, brother. What Commanding General YAHANNA is doing is attempting to give you the training that you need right now. Do you think you can be a pillar of the earth and be a drug addict? Nah. You think you can be a pillar of the earth and be an alcoholic? No. You can't. You can barely stand up. You're so drunk all the time. You can barely do anything. How in the hell are you going to be the person that holds up the planet? How can you be a pillar in the earth? The pillars of the earth are the rulers of the earth. And the Most High is saying he'll take poor people from Toronto and make them the rulers of the earth. That's what he'll do.
Right.
He'll do that. He'll Brakatha Yahweh while Yahweh shot. He'll do that. The question is, do you want the job? That's the question. Because you know what? Some of you would rather just live in dung. Some of you would rather. That sodomite that left the truth, he preferred the dunghill.
Right.
That's what he preferred. I told Abun, I believe he was a homosexual anyway. Salakia, I believe he was a member of the LGBT community. And I believe that this zone is too masculine for him. Too rough, too aggressive. I'll give you a precept about him in 1 second, too. It's in Matthew. Let me answer your questions. It was something else you wanted to go over as well, right? Somebody keep me straight. Abun, keep me straight with my time, all right?
So you've got about an hour. Officer IDR, who's having some issues with his connection, he had a question. It's on, he said, Salakia, sir, I wanted to know if he could use the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 25. When you were saying that if you focus on the things that'll stop you, if you focus on fear, you'll fall. If you could use Proverbs 29, 25 for that, I'm grabbing it right now. Book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 25. The fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe.
Outstanding precept. Give him a hand, Officer Adiyar. What city are you in, Officer Adiyar? What city is he in?
Montreal, sir.
Montreal. Outstanding, brother. Good job. Good job. You brothers in here, you are the future rulers of Canada, brother. You are the pillars of the earth. That's what that precept is talking about. It's not talking about where you came from, where you started. It's talking about the man that you will become. All right. Next. Any more questions? You good to go here?
Going out of one country.
What about questions online from brothers sisters watching the class in chat rooms and things like that. Can you make sure we get those questions, Abun?
Colonel, we don't have any so far. I'm looking at the chat for both.
No
But if
problem.
you could, the officer, if you could post the attendance sign-in sheet, it's got to be posted to the officer that's over the chat.
He has that. Okay, solid. Officer Shiar one. You wanted to bring out some stories? Abun, just let me know if someone has a question. All right.
Khan one Khan.
Go ahead.
Khan, sir, I have the Salakia. I have the article on marijuana and depression. What's the link?
Okay. But there was something you wanted to bring out about Gadites.
Khan, sir, I'm also holding a story on recently there were 751 unmarked graves that were found on the residential schools.
On the what schools?
In the residential schools.
And what are they? What is that?
So the residential schools were, I think it started around 1980, right up until 1997. And they were schools where the Gadites, they were forced to go to by the Canadian government. And those schools, I believe 70% of those schools were run by the Catholic Church. And in those schools, there's many stories of sexual abuse. I think it was malnourishment from different types of poor hygiene or poor practices that were going on in the school. They had kids running away from the school in the winter times, and these kids would their bodies would end up go missing. Some of them would be found frozen. I don't remember the exact number, but I think there was something around 6,000 kids that were that had died in these residential schools. They were, I guess the summary of it is that through the Canadian government and the Catholic Church, they were trying to eradicate the culture of the Native American indigenous brothers. And so very recently, they keep finding bodies, unmarked graves. A lot of children were missing. That they were finding burial sites on the actual schools where these children attended.
And how widely known is this story about the mass graves and the bodies that they found?
Khan, from my understanding, for the last 10 years, our Gadite brothers have been speaking out about it a lot, asking for reparations and different things from the Canadian government. But as of this, within these last couple months, more Canadians are starting to actually learn about what went on in these schools.
Well, let me tell you once again, brother, because of selfishness and drug addiction, things like this will be something that no one gives a damn about. They'll learn about it. They'll know about it over time. Most of the time, they won't even know about it. But eventually, they'll know about it. But of course, after they know about it, weed has been legalized in Canada, right? Weed is legal in Canada. And so before you know it, no one will have enough ambition to accomplish any goal, let alone reparations for anything. No one will have the drive to do it.
Sir.
Come on, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Sir, if I could clarify on the officer has said, the residential schools were around in Canada since at least 1890. You know, they had a decree where they put out in the United States. I believe they said the exact same thing in Canada, where we have to kill the savage and civilize the man.
Oh, I'm very familiar with that from Oklahoma in America and Texas. Keep going.
Right, Khan on one Khan. So what they would do is, of course, the brothers and sisters would come in there with their braids. They would make sure the first thing they would do is cut their braids off, and they would teach them, English, and teach them about, the person we know of course, is Caesar Borgia, but the person that they call Jesus. And would teach them about the Catholic Church, etc., and would molest all of them. There were stories of women, of sisters, young girls being locked in closets till they starved to death. You got stories of brothers and sisters being beaten to death by these, these nuns or what have you. They had 6,000, several thousand deaths, but they found this mass grave of 700 unmarked graves, and they found another one in British Columbia of like 200 or 300. So this is about 1,000 people, 1,000 kids they just found. And I have an article as well in front of me. It said, well, first of all, Justin Trudeau, who's the Prime Minister of Canada, wants the Pope to come to Canada and apologize on Canadian soil. So, Lord be with him on that. But he wants the Pope, you got to come here and apologize, because it's all going to fall on Trudeau then. Trudeau's going to have to answer for it if they don't come in and clean up their mess. But this is an article. It says, priests under fire after sermon on the good done by Catholic Church on residential schools. There was a Roman Catholic priest in Mississauga who gave a mass, and he made comments about the residential schools. He said that this is his quote. He said 2/3 of the country is blaming the church. So of course, not all this came out. Everyone is, as they should, calling the Catholic Church a terrorist group, which is what they basically are. They molested everybody's kids, and they've got another 1,000 kids underground dead. So they're calling them out for who they are. And he said, which we love, for the tragedies that occurred there. He said on video originally posted to the church's YouTube page and since deleted. 1 second. Blah, 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 blah. He said, I presume the same number would thank the church for the good done in those schools. But of course, that question was never asked, and we are not allowed to even say that good was done there. I wait to see what comes to my inbox. Meaning this, he's saying, I know we killed all these kids and left all these kids, but are you Canadians who are against us? Are you even going to consider the good that they did? They did absolutely nothing good for those people. So it's like he's such an animal. It's like, yeah, I'm killing you. Yeah, I'm eating you, but I'm keeping your numbers down. It's like a lion. I'm keeping your numbers down. I'm keeping you all in check. So disgusting.
You give him a hand. What officers said is so true. I mean, that's just, it's terrible. And once again, it just shows you what they expect from you. And can you imagine how much courage it would take to keep your culture? You understand? And that's what so many of us don't get. It requires an extreme level of aggression to even be allowed to be yourself. To just be allowed to have hair. These brothers, so many of those brothers were killed because they didn't want to cut their braids. They didn't want to cut their braids. So do you understand that even having hair is a reflection of rebellion? You have to have courage because you cannot have your culture and be a coward because they will kill you for being who you are. That's it. They'll kill you. They'll kill you because you want hair on your head and hair on your face, and you'll have to die. And that should be an example of how hard it is and how much courage it's going to take for you brothers to control Canada, man. It's going to take some courage. You're going to have to be a hero. I pray you understand that. You're going to have to be a hero. Commanding General YAHANNA is allowing nothing but heroes in the Canadian camp. I pray you understand that. No one is putting you under any illusion that we will allow any weak man to stand next to you, because we are not. Do all of you understand? I pray so. I pray so. All right, what else did you have, brother? Did you have another story you wanted to go over?
I'm like, Sir La, that was it. We had your stories, the stories you sent me on marijuana. We also had, I'm holding Matthew 13 and 19, sir.
Yeah, let's go over the marijuana abuse first, man. That's what I wanted to go over. I wanted to go over that and depression. Which one are you pulling up first, Abun?
The first link you would send me was the link between. I'm grabbing it now. I believe it was the reward circuit, like marijuana fries your reward circuitry. Hold on, I'm grabbing it right now. Your reward system. No, it's marijuana and depression. Salakia. I'm about to grab it now.
No problem. You give me that and I'll pull it up.
Khan, I'm grabbing it now myself. Khan, this is from the Mayo Clinic. The title is Marijuana and Depression. What's the link?
There you go. Let's go
Some
there.
research.
Go ahead, bro.
Some research. Sir. Some research suggests that marijuana smokers are diagnosed with depression more often than non-smokers are.
Meaning,
particularly.
I'm sorry. 1 second, Abun. Let me tell you what it skipped down for time's sake. All right.
Khan.
Let's start right there. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Particularly regular or heavy marijuana users.
Read it from the top again.
Yes, sir. Some research suggests that marijuana smokers are diagnosed with depression more often than non-smokers are.
Meaning people begin to do research on marijuana use, right? And they begin to start to say that maybe people who maybe marijuana causes depression. Maybe from marijuana abuse, marijuana use, people begin to be depressed because studies start to show that people who smoke weed are so depressed. A lot of you, your mothers or your fathers might have smoked weed. Or of course, you grow up in a community where everyone gets high, and then you begin to see how depressed they are, how slow they are, how they can't do anything to improve themselves at all. They can't even enjoy life at all. They only can enjoy getting high. So they begin to try to wonder, does marijuana use make you depressed? Keep going.
Khan on one Khan. So like you, sir. Khan on one Khan. Particularly regular or heavy marijuana users.
Keep going. You get that regular or heavy, meaning Snoop Doggy Dogg. People that try to smoke every day, all day. You have to get high up in the morning. That feeling you feel when you get up in the morning and you need to smoke a blunt while you're in the bathroom. You go to the bathroom and you have to get high in the bathroom. You need it the minute the day starts. You're about to go to your slavery. You need to get high before you go into your slavery. You need to get high immediately after your slavery. You need to get high in the bathroom at your slavery. Brother, right here, you with your hand raised.
Salak, yes, sir. What you're saying is so heavy because for many brothers in the world, especially in Toronto, like when it comes to smoking weed, that is all they know. And that is how they cope with the pain, and the marijuana gives them more pain. Like I was out of slavery before, and a brother didn't have a license. I asked him for a ride home, and he started to roll up the blunt in the car. And I looked at him like, "What are you doing? You don't have your license. How are you gonna? What if you get pulled over, right?" And he just didn't care. I had to get out the car, sir.
Listen, give him a hand. That was some sincerity and integrity, brother. Yeah, man. Now he's a sad individual, and in Toronto, man, there are so many brothers like him, where they're going to see you, and they just don't have the fight to be like you. They just don't have it, because the Canadian government, the Canadian oppressor, for years since the 30s, has been pushing marijuana on blacks and Hispanics and the indigenous people of Canada to pacify you. And now all around the world, black people in the States think that Canadian black people are totally passive. Like that's the perception of you brothers in Canada. You had your hand up? Go ahead.
So, Salakia, sir. Also, if I may, there are, now I don't know if this is true or not, but it's speculated that the weed that's coming out of Canada that also makes it into the United States is sprayed when they're growing it with fentanyl.
Yeah, listen, I've heard the same reports in my research, brother. And that's, once again, not only are you smoking weed, which already is designed to effeminate a man, to effeminize you, but they're spraying it with fentanyl, which makes it extremely addictive.
Right.
Extremely addictive. I'm going to go over that in 1 second. The water, keep going.
Con, sir. So like you point up now. It's likely that the genetic, environmental, or other factors that trigger depression also lead to marijuana use.
Meaning this, when they started doing the research, they started to see, not like, just like the officer just said, not only does it make you depressed, but people who live a depressed life seek marijuana. So when you are sad and lonely and miserable and poor and living in Toronto or UBECQUA, that's the name, right? You say the name again before so I don't forget. Say the name. You say the name.
Etobicoke, sir.
Etobicoke. And you're living in a shelter.
Right.
You're in homeless. You need to get high because your living situation has you so depressed. Now, here's what they won't tell you. If you smoke weed because you're poor, then how do you ever solve the problem of your poverty? How do you ever solve the problem that you're running from, if you run from it? If you are getting high because you're poor and you're suffering and you didn't grow up with your father and all of your friends have been killed and you've been to jail, how do you ever solve those problems if you're getting high to avoid them? Well, the Canadian oppressor wants you high because he does not want you to solve your problems. He doesn't want you to fix them. He wants you to ignore them. And that's why, I don't know how far I have to go back, brother, since Canada has been pushing drugs and alcoholism and marijuana use on blacks, Hispanics, and the indigenous people of Canada, man. They've always been doing it, and it pacifies you. And all across the world, the rest of the world thinks that Canadian black people are more polite and are fine with their condition. That you don't care. You're not angry, you're not upset. People would believe there is no racism in Canada based on the myth that Canadian black people are just satisfied with their condition. That's a myth that goes all across the world. Why? Because of drug addiction. Because of drug addiction. Can everyone hear me well? Abun, you get me? Keep going, Abun.
Yes, sir. Con. Heavy users may appear depressed as a result of the dulling effect of the drug on feelings and emotions.
You understand that? The dulling effect of the drugs on feelings and emotions. Well, what feelings do they dull? Aggression, ambition, anger. It kills it. So now you don't feel the feelings that you need to change your condition from bad to good, to improve your life. You don't feel it at all because you're high or you're drunk all the time. Keep going.
Con. There are also links between marijuana and other mental health concerns.
Read that again.
There are also links between marijuana and other mental health concerns.
Keep going.
Marijuana use may trigger schizophrenia.
Read that again.
Marijuana use may trigger schizophrenia.
Read it again.
Marijuana use may trigger schizophrenia.
Brothers, the Canadian government is trying to kill blacks and Hispanics and the indigenous people. They're trying to kill you up. They're trying to kill you with schizophrenia. They're trying to kill you with madness. Madness. The Lord said that you would be stricken with madness. That's in the book of Deuteronomy, man. And that's what schizophrenia is. Madness. Weed causes schizophrenia. It's here. Smoking weed causes schizophrenia. Do any of you brothers do you know any schizophrenics out there? Raise your hand if you know any schizophrenics in Canada. Anyone of you ever met a schizophrenic? Oh boy. Those people walking up and down the street, talking to themselves, eating out of trash cans. Those are schizophrenics. And it's probably a plurality of them in your downtown neighborhoods. And in every downtown neighborhood that Black people and Hispanic people live in. Well, smoking weed causes it, not according to Commanding General YAHANNA, but according to mental health professionals, scientists. I told you earlier, the Lord is the author of science. The Most High gave us a law not to smoke weed. He told us not to do it. And now here we are, scientists who go into your brain, dissect the brain of a dead marijuana user, and realizes that his schizophrenia came from drug use, from recreational drug use. Any more?
Marijuana use may trigger schizophrenia or detachment from reality, psychosis.
Psychosis, a detachment from reality. Like the brother said, he's rolling up a blunt, driving a car with no license. And of course, you're looking at him like, don't you understand? You could go to jail? No, he doesn't understand. He's not here. He's not in reality. And that's why he'll be in prison in a few weeks. Keep going.
There also is some evidence that teenagers who attempt suicide may be more likely to have used marijuana than those who have not made an attempt.
You understand? If you look at someone who tries to kill themselves, once they examine them and talk to them, they're going to find out that they smoke weed. Everyone thinks weed is so innocent. Weed is so mild. Weed is killing Toronto, brother. Weed is killing Toronto. Anything else, Abun?
If I could add a comment, there was a massacre in I forget what prefecture it was in Japan. I think it was a prefecture in Tokyo, and their neighborhoods are called prefectures. This cat went into an old folks' home with a knife and killed like 26 people with a knife, stabbed all these old people. They originally a few weeks before this attack, he's saying he's going to do it. He's going to kill a bunch of people. So they hospitalized him, and apparently in Japan, they diagnosed him with cannabis psychosis. They diagnosed him.
Cannabis psychosis.
That was all. I got to pull that article up for you and send it to you,
That's
sir.
a good one, Abun. That's a real thing, man.
Yeah, and in Japan,
Go ahead.
So apparently in other countries they have a diagnosis of cannabis psychosis where they need to hospitalize you. You're going to kill everybody. So lucky.
And and that's that laid back attitude that fake Israelites and Christians have in Toronto. Go ahead, Warrior.
Salakia, sir. That was a heavy point that Officer Abban broke out, because damn near every drive-by I've ever known, every murder I've ever known, the killer was smoking weed before, sir.
Absolutely. Everyone I've ever known as well. I don't know if you can commit crime without smoking weed first. You need it. You need the weed or the cocaine, but mainly weed, before you commit any crime. It's traditional and ceremonial. You have to do it. And what we don't understand is that same drug that has you doing something so self-destructive also is a major reason that your oppressor is able to build such a wonderful economy. It works perfectly. Weed is going to make you destroy your neighborhood. At the same time, weed is going to build downtown Toronto. Weed is going to build the economy. Toronto is making $400 million every year on legal marijuana sales. Legal. $400 million. So at one time, the brother who smokes weed is going to be so depressed, so schizophrenic, so sad that he's going to kill someone. At the same time, this industry is going to be at the root of an amazing economic boom, of prosperity for so many oppressors. They're going to prosper because of it. You're going to die. Don't you understand? If you stop smoking weed, you would be the author of your own economic boom. If you stop smoking, you'd be the engine of your own economy. You would have the drive, the determination, the spirit of competition to build your own society. And at the same time, your oppressor's society would fall. Go ahead, officer.
Salakia, sir. Our oppressor is such a devil that there was a police chief, 2 police chiefs ago, and the police, they're notorious for stopping brothers in Canada for if you have just a joint on you, you have a little dime bag, $10 a weed, they stop you, give you a ticket, a $60 ticket, now you got to go to court. That same police chief now, he works for Justin Trudeau in the cabinet, and he's a major investor in legal weed in Canada.
I know all about him, brother. I know all about that story. I researched that story. And can you imagine the amazing hypocrisy? Do you know what that means? That means that this police chief was getting so rich from tickets, writing weed addicts tickets and fines, that he began to tell other white people, yo, this weed is very popular. The weed was already making them rich in the courthouse, making the legal system rich.
Right.
And that means that cops, police chiefs, and judges started to notice, why don't we start selling this weed? We should be selling it. We're already getting rich off of the fines and the court cases. The lawyers are getting rich. The judges are getting rich. Why don't we sell it ourselves? And then the same people who made money off of putting you in jail for smoking weed are now going to make money for selling you weed. Our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
Okay. Bun, give me the other story, bro. I can tell you how or why y'all was shy.
General.
Once again, Bun, let me make this point first, Doc. What would happen if we stopped smoking weed? Do you understand? We would become ruthless. We would become competitive with the other nations. We would become absolute, strict, cutthroat businessmen. We become sharp like a razor if we would give up drugs. Now we find a way to feed our brother and to feed our daughters and our women, to protect our homes. We would find a way to stop crime. We would do it because we would have the intellect that we aren't using right now, that weed is stealing from you. And we'd apply that intellect to ending gun violence in Toronto. We'd apply that intellect to ending poverty in Toronto. I'm just telling you what the UPK is going to do in Toronto. Now, you just decide if you want on board or not, because this is going to happen in Toronto, in Montreal. Right now, you got those purple homosexuals in Toronto committing more acts of sexual deviance than the Catholic Church in Toronto. Right. Smoking all of the weed, having all of the gay sex that the Catholic priests were having in Toronto. You're going to wait for them to fix poverty? They can't fix poverty because they can't fix themselves. And the UPK, we're going to fix you. I pray you understand. We are going to fix you. And I don't care what it takes. Do you understand? I pray so. Because Commanding General YAHANNA needs men to save the lives of the people in Toronto. That's what he's here for, man. We didn't come to Toronto to wear purple shirts and look pretty. We came to Toronto to save the lives of Black people, to save the lives of Hispanics, and we're going to need heroes for that.
So like, can everyone hear me?
Khan, other one, Khan, sir. Salaki, I think the general is frozen at the moment. I think General Mahayaman is frozen at the moment.
Yeah, the general's frozen.
Go on, sir.
It's like if someone could message them and let them know that he froze. In the meantime, I guess I'll cover it. You know what I mean? What General's bringing out about marijuana is absolutely heavy. It's absolutely on point, and it is like the demon that is destroying us as a people. Like without drugs, the school will be, first of all, the school will be 3 times bigger. So many families will be together in Canada. So many brothers wouldn't be underneath 6 feet deep or deep in Guantanamo South, etc. But this weed, this dope, man, is pushed us to an animal-like state. You get my point of a very, very low state. All right. So let's get the scripture real quick. Give me a Proverbs 16 and 27 on it. All right. Proverbs 16 and 27. Officer Shariwan, if you can, I'll just stay close to that the background. Yeah, stay close to the background so that you can add him back in. All right. You hear me, Officer Shariwan?
Salaki, sir.
Go ahead, brother.
Come on, sir.
General Mahayaman said he's working. He has a brother working on it right now.
Okay, come on. So then, I'll take over for the meantime. Give me a Proverbs 16 and 27. Like everything the general brought out about the weed is on point and it's heavy. Like I said, drugs, that demon of drug use, the demon of addiction is the #1 demon we have to fight in this nation called Canada, man. In this cesspool we call Canada, the #1 thing that's separating our people from life is dope. And the #1 form of dope is weed. Okay. Once again, I guess smoking doesn't cause lung cancer either, Akim. I guess that's totally forgotten. The cigarettes, they're bad, they're terrible. They had to boycott the cigarettes, but the weed's totally fine. That's another thing that's going to happen as well. The same boycotts, the same lobbying, the same I have to smoke, I have to talk through my neck because I smoked for 50 years. These weed heads are going to get that as well. And then in 50 some odd years, a crisis is back. They're going to have a big lawsuit for the weed that's laced with fentanyl and laced with 3,000 different chemicals. All right. Most of which are designed to make you feminine and a murderer. Okay. There's going to be a whole recall on that as well. So smoking weed is it's a sin, man. And this was dividing our people from life. Go ahead, Trooper Bracchiala.
I got the scripture.
Please, Proverbs 16:27.
Proverbs 16 and 27. An ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his
and a godly
lips
man diggeth
there
up
is as
evil.
a
Weed
burning
is a plant. Weed heads and junkies will say weed is a plant. It comes from the earth. So God intended for it to be used. God did intend it for it to be used, but not for you to smoke it. How do I know that? Because you don't smoke anything else for its nutrition, man. If that's the case, take your Captain Crunch and put it in a blunt and smoke it then. if you smoking for some nutritional enjoyment or what have you, there's no nutritional value in that, man. The body wasn't made for smoke. Okay. An ungodly man, he'll take plants, he'll take the coca leaf that the natives would chew and use so that they could get up in the Andes Mountains and make long treks. The slave master, the Spaniard, would take that coca leaf and he'd turn it into cocaine. Okay. Weed heads in Jamaica take the weed, dig it up, and use it for an evil purpose, a purpose that it wasn't meant to be used, and a purpose that is self-destructive. Weed is just like cocaine, just like meth, just like lean. It's destructive. Go ahead, Trooper Saquad.
Yes, sir. So this Proverbs 16 and 27, this can be used to cut for weed, right? Is what you're saying?
Weed and all forms of drugs. An ungodly man diggeth up evil. The first argument you'll have, the weed is he'll say, but it's from the earth. And God said, they'll pull Genesis 1 and 27 or 1 and 29, where it says, all herb-bearing seed shall be for meat to you. And they'll somehow use that as an excuse to smoke. You don't smoke any other herb, last I checked. You don't smoke your Captain Crunch. You don't smoke Popeye's chicken sandwiches. You eat them. When it said every herb shall be for meat, it's for consumption. And even though it's for, go ahead, brother.
Oh, sorry, Salaki, sir. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was trying to wait.
Okay, no sweat. And even herbs, there's certain herbs you can't eat, certain mushrooms you can't eat. Otherwise, you'll be on a bad trip for 3 weeks. You'll go crazy. Okay, certain things were meant to be mixed, certain things were meant to be taken in small doses, and certain things were meant to be eaten as medicine. Okay, but ungodly man, he digs up evil. Read on.
Read on.
Cooper.
So I
And
can
ungodly men dig it up evil,
Uh-huh.
and in his lips there is as a burning fire.
And in his lips there is as a burning fire. Between his lips, it's like a burning fire. What does the weed junkie do? He digs something up, and between his lips, it says a burning fire. And that act that he's doing is evil. Digging something up and putting it between your lips as a burning fire, that's evil. That's what the Lord's one of the many things the Lord said not to do. It's the worship of another God, and you destroying your temple. You're destroying the thing, the body, the vessel that the Most High gave you, man. And it's precious and it's vital. It's something that's important. We're God's chosen people, man. We weren't made to be sucking up smoke up and down Toronto, up and down Montreal. It is evil to take weed, take tobacco, put it between your lips as a burning fire. You get the point, Saquad?
Yeah, concert. I get it.
Yeah, kind of, and this goes for e-cigarettes as well. Any idiot telling you, well, an e-cigarette is not a burning fire. It is a burning fire, you idiot, because you have to heat up the liquid or whatever's in there to get it in steam form. All that's the same, man. All that's the same, and it goes for that CBD oil and all that other stuff. All that other stuff is an excuse to get high. Go ahead, Officer Zabaja.
Salakia, sir. A brother in the chat, Allah, Yasha, Yahweh said, roll up your vitamins.
Yeah, Aliyah, Yahweh, Thawada. Roll up your vitamins and smoke them. Roll up the Captain Crunch and smoke them. What's the leading cause of death in fire? Is smoke inhalation. So if you're dying from smoke inhalation, maybe you shouldn't be smoking weed on a smaller, maybe you shouldn't be inhaling smoke on a smaller scale. Okay? But again, what this all goes back to is the person that's smoking high wants to die. The demon on them that wants them to die.
Are we back up?
Yes, sir. You're back in.
Most times, guys, clap it up. Well done. Duwada and Mahayaman, the sister, getting it on. Duwada, all right. All right, what am I missing, anything?
Yes, sir. So like also time check, 9:48, we have 12 minutes. And we had your second article, sir, on the weed. And we had the scripture.
Please.
Yes, sir. Kana one kind. This is from Dana Foundation. It's titled How Addiction Hijacks Our Reward System. People have been
fix this. Is this my screen? Is my square where it is because I put it there or no?
No lies, sir. To get everyone on the screen, we had to it's placed in this format, but you're at the top now, sir.
No problem. Okay, go ahead.
Kana one kind. People have been using addictive substances for centuries, but only very recently, by using the powerful tools of brain imaging, genetics, and genomics, have scientists begun to understand in detail how the brain becomes addicted.
So meaning now, because of science and all of their amazing discoveries that they've made in technology, now they can really understand addiction better than they have before. Everybody gets that, right? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Kana Khan. Neuropharmacologists Wilkie A. Wilson and Cynthia M. Kuhn explain.
Do me a favor. I'm gonna skip you down, but I told you where to start. I said to start somewhere.
Yes, sir. I'm going to check that now. Scroll down. You said scroll down to the addicted brain. I'm doing that now.
Scroll down to the addicted brain just for time's sake. This is an excellent article. You can go over another time, all right? Because I still want to get to Matthew 13 about anyone ever that has ever left the truth, especially to that sodomite that was in Canada, all right?
Kana one con. So, like, sir, did you have an idea on what paragraph it's in? I'm not able to find it.
It should say the addicted brain.
Kana, I'm looking right now. Let me see if it's at the top. There's a few. It's separated into a lot of paragraphs. There's addiction. Was it in the title?
Right here. It's right here. It says the addicted brain. Just start from the top and scroll down until you get it.
Yes, sir.
It's in bold letters.
Okay, in bold letters. The disease to jail. What is an addiction? Slovakia. Khan, I got it. The addicted brain. Scientists now think
Everyone listen very closely, all right? Go ahead.
Khan. Scientists now think that the brain changes associated with genuine addiction long outlast the withdrawal phase for any drug.
Meaning that once you begin to be addicted to a drug, like marijuana use, like cigarettes, that before you know it, it changes your brain. Your brain is not the same anymore once you become addicted to marijuana. Like it makes actual physical changes to your brain. Keep going.
Addiction is characterized by profound craving for a drug or behavior that so dominates the life of an addict that virtually nothing can stop the person from engaging in the addictive activity.
That's real addiction. That's real addiction, where it just profoundly drives you and it becomes your the sole thing in life you seek. Everything you do is about getting that. Now, here's what you have to understand. It's before you know it, the brain will change physically so that you have to have it. That's what happens. That's what withdrawal is. Many of you have heard of having withdrawal symptoms, which are a physical symptom. And some people die from withdrawal. They die from it. And that's how terrible it is. So remember that when everyone talks about smoking weed, as if it's so harmless, as if it's no big deal. It has destroyed Canada. It's destroyed Toronto. Destroyed the place.
Right.
Destroyed Montreal. Keep going.
Khan. Addicts will give up anything and everything in their lives for the object of their addiction.
And once again, sometimes the object of their addiction is marijuana, cocaine, or alcohol. Some people say they're addicted to chocolate, addicted to, soccer. That's not addiction, right? A real addiction changes your brain. Real addiction gives you withdrawal. Real addiction is scientific, and marijuana causes real addiction, real physical addiction. And you don't care about your people if you smoke weed. You don't care about anything. You don't care about going to jail. You don't care about your family, and you do not care about the UPK. You can't care about your brother. Some of you are ignorant to this, and I want to make this very clear. The mission of the I.S.U.P.K in Canada is a mission based in love. In love. That's why we're there. We're there on a mission of love.
Right.
We want to love the people who everyone else could care less about. We want to extend to you a mercy, an act of kindness that no one else will give you. The Catholic Church won't even apologize for mass murder. Do you think someone else will care about you enough to make sure that you eat, that you have a home to live in, to make sure that your family is safe? You can't even get an apology from the religious leaders. How do you expect for them to end your poverty? They can't because they don't care. Our mission is a mission of mercy. We're there to love you. That's why we came to Canada, man. That's why you brothers came into the UPK, because you really know how to love. You brothers are kind, man. Each and every one of you. And Officer Abun gives me excellent reports about all you brothers. I see your faces now, but I've heard these names for so long. Ayadar and Shayawan and Yarad. I've heard about you brothers for so long, about the mercy and the kindness that you brothers show your people in that city. Do you think they can get it from somewhere else? Do you think some fake Israelite could ever love anyone but himself? He can't. So the job is yours if you want it. The job is yours. Because in the UPK, we teach men how to love each other. We teach men how to love their families and how to be kind to one another. Keep going.
Khan. They will lose all their money for cocaine.
That's
Give
it.
up, give up loved ones to feed their craving for alcohol, and sometimes give up their lives.
Some of you alcoholics out there, some of you have family members that try to tell you, you drink too much. You drink too much. You might have a wife that tells you, listen, man, you got to stop drinking. You don't give a damn about what your wife says. You don't care. But what difference does it make to you? Your wife, your kids, your brothers. You care about getting drunk. That's it. Well, your oppressor worked his demonic magic on you. That's why you're an alcoholic. Because there's an oppressor that gets more rich the more you get poor. You get poor, he gets rich. You get addicted to alcoholism and marijuana, and he finds a new industry in Canada. Keep going.
The perplexing questions for neuroscientists who study addiction are how the brain learns to crave something so fiercely and how to reverse that craving.
That's what they're trying to do in science, man. They're trying to study how does the brain want something so bad and how can you reduce it? Well, I'll end that question for scientists right now, man. There's only one way to end drug addiction. You are going to have to make a man believe that he can walk on water. And when that man believes that, then he believes that there is nothing impossible to him if he believes in Yahawashi Christ, that he can defeat drug addiction, that he can defeat alcoholism, because this man believes that if he keeps his focus on Christ, he can defeat anything. Keep going.
With new imaging techniques, we can watch the brain function in real time. And we now know that addictive drugs cause the activation of a specific set of neural circuits called the brain reward system.
Here we go. This is what I need to get to. I need to get to the brain reward system so you can understand how destructive weed has been to Canada. The scientists, there's a system in your mind that scientists call the brain reward system. Keep going.
This system controls much of our motivated behavior.
Of our what?
Motivated behavior.
Of our what?
Motivated behavior.
And brother, scientists can dissect your brain and go in there and see the cells and the veins in your brain that lead to motivated behavior. Meaning there are pleasure senses in your brain that are designed to be there to give you pleasure at doing something that is essential to life. And I'm going to read about it right now. Keep going.
But most people are hardly familiar with it. Our brain's reward system motivates us to behave in ways such as eating and having sex that tend to help us survive as individuals and as species.
Meaning it's called your brain reward system. And there is a sense of pleasure. Some of you brothers that work out know what I'm talking about. Bun, you work out, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you work out and when you meet your goal, there's a sense of pleasure you get from the hard, rigorous work of exercise. Now, other people would say it's painful, but you get a sense of pleasure from being sore, from having sore muscles. Some people also have a thing called a runner's high. Have you ever heard of that before? Where you can run so hard, and there's a point in the run where your lungs are burning, and you get euphoria from running, from exercise. Well, why did the Most High build the brain that gives itself a reward for hard work? Hard work. Do you understand that your mind is designed to give you a pleasure sense when you have a hard work, when you have a day of hard work? What could you do with that? If I get a pleasure sense from exercise, I also could get pleasure from plowing a field. I also could get pleasure from planting trees. I also could get pleasure from bringing in a giant harvest. I would be sweating and dirty, and my muscles would be sore from bringing in a large catch of fish to feed my community. If not for drugs, we would get pleasure from things that you need to do, like work. You can get pleasure from back-breaking labor. You can get pleasure from it. Your body is designed to give you pleasure from being sore and working hard at achieving a goal. A lot of you drug addicts and you alcoholics also, let me give you something else you can't do. A lot of your wives are absolutely sexually unsatisfied. I'm telling you out of love. And you know because she tells you. You drug addicts, you cannot have sex. You're bad at it. You're not good at having sex. Why?
Right.
Because sex does not give you pleasure. You need to be high. Most of you, the only way you can even have sex is if you get high first.
Yep.
Go ahead, Rod. Break it down for him.
Salakia, sir. It's Opposite Sabaja. But Salakia, sir. Now in Toronto, right? So the youth that are smoking drugs, they have something they call perky rod, right? Where Salakia, they got to take a Percocet, sir, to get it in, to terrify, sir.
Yep. Perk 30.
It's all in the rap song, sir. Salakia.
They can't do it without it, sir. Salakia.
Well, listen.
Right.
Well, listen. Well, I'm bringing the gospel here today. Black and Hispanic women in Toronto, the UPK is on its way.
Right.
Don't worry. Listen, and we coming and we get hard for nothing.
Right.
We hard all the time, every day, no matter what. So you sisters, just wait.
Yep.
Just keep reading, cover your head, learn the Bible, do your 90 days. Because the UPK in Toronto, we are hard all the time. All the time, every day. Give yourselves a hand.
Right. That's right.
Well done. Look at that brother Urad. You think he's playing with you? He's not playing with you. He's not. Look at him. He can't wait. Look at the light-skinned brother. Look at Shayawan. You think Shayawan needs a pill? No. He needs you to assume the position and catch hell. That's all you have to do. You get in the position you want and catch hell.
Oh,
Moving on. Let's read on now. So
yes, sir,
a little more about the altered reward system, and then I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay, Khan. This system organizes the behaviors that are life-sustaining, provides some tools necessary to take the desired actions, and then rewards us with pleasure when we do.
You understand? So if we weren't high, brother, we would get a sense of pleasure from setting up a new food program, from setting up a business, from helping people. We would get a sense of pleasure. But marijuana use has altered the reward system so that you don't get pleasure from things that your body is built to get pleasure from. You don't get pleasure anymore. You don't get pleasure from solving a problem anymore. You only get pleasure from getting high. You don't get pleasure from sex anymore. You only get pleasure from getting high. Well, the UPK is the cure, man. The UPK has the amount of aggression that Toronto, that Montreal needs for you to get free from that drug, because we believe in Christ, man. That's the difference about us and the purple sodomites and every other fake Israelite group in Toronto and the church. We actually believe in Christ. We believe in him. And because of that, we don't believe that drug addiction is an impossible enemy for us to destroy. We don't believe that homosexuality or being gay is something that you have to allow. People are born gay, fine. I was born a killer, but I was able to change. I was able to change, man. I was able to give up a life of violence. So why can't someone that's gay? He can change too. If Christ can walk on water, then anyone can change. Everybody understands that, right?
Come on. Did you, sir, we're running on 10:05. So did you want Matthew 13 and 19 to wrap it up?
Yeah, give me Matthew 13 and 19. Here's an important, the brothers, this is specifically to the brothers in Canada. You went through something that is very common to go through in the UPK. You brothers went out on the street and on the internet and you found a brother and you loved him and you cared for him and you taught him and you were so happy when he came into the truth, right? Every officer has been through this. And I just wanted to explain to you what it's about and why it happened. You found a brother, you loved him, you cared for him, you gave him a new name, and you were so hopeful that he would change and he would join you in this battle because you need help. You need brothers by your side. And with every brother that comes in the truth, it encourages you that one day you will be able to be the pillars of Canada, that you'll be able to be the princes of that city, because if you're given power, then finally the people can be safe. But this brother betrayed you. You loved him, but he did not love you. And then finally he laid down his sword and he betrayed the oath that he took. Every one of you brothers know that you took an oath when you became a trooper. You took an oath when you became an officer. And with each rank raise, you must take an oath. And that oath is a promise to Yahweh that you will uphold the standard that this rank demands. And you promised God, not man. You made that promise to the Lord our God. Well, that man broke his oath. And now he left the UPK and he went right back to the vomit that he was eating before. Now he's back in the same fake Israelite group that he was in before. Now he's back in that same Israelite group eating the same vomit that he ate before. The Bible says that when you leave the truth, you are as the sow that was washed, who returned to her wallowing. You are like the dog who once vomited turns again to eat that vomit again. So now he's just back in the world doing what he was doing before. And it can be sometimes traumatic because you are so capable of an extreme amount of love when you're in the UPK. You love each other. I can tell that you brothers love each other. I hear about your stories and how you love one another, man. And you travel long hours to be with each other. And keep doing that, man. You brothers, you live all across Canada. Get in the car and drive so you can be with your brothers in Montreal, your brothers in Toronto. Barack Yala, where are you at? Trooper Barack Yala, where are you? What city are you in? His screen is frozen. Shah Yuan, where are you? Huh?
Salaki Adawan. I'm close to North Bay, about 5 hours north of Toronto.
How far are you from Officer Adiyar?
I think it was an 8 hour, maybe it was an 8 or 9 hour drive from Officer Adiyar.
8 hours. And Shah Yuan, where are you?
No, Trooper Rocky will be the other brother, sir.
I'm sorry. Trooper Rocky Yala, where are you? I can't hear him. He must be
I'm in Montreal.
And how far are you from Adiyar?
I'm in Montreal, Adawan.
Oh, they're in the same city.
They're in the same city. Well, how far? Okay, why aren't you two in the room together? Is there a reason or not?
I was working today,
Abun. I can't hear him, Abun. Why aren't Barak Ya'ala and RDR? They're in the same city. Why aren't they in the room together?
So like, sir, the trooper is saying that he was working. I'm not sure when he had got off, but the brothers, most of the brothers in Toronto are in the same room. And I told them to do that as much as possible.
Yeah, what Abun is saying is right. Abun is assigned to headquarters in Harlem, New York. So Abun definitely understands our culture. And it's important that we bond together because we have a great many enemies. And our enemies are strong. Our enemies are mighty. And because of that, it has driven us to become mighty ourselves. We become mighty because our foes are mighty. The men that want to kill us are strong. So we become strong. I pray you understand. You brothers, get together. Be in the same room if at all possible. You come together, man. Because why? Because through that we form bonds with each other. And you need those bonds when you're under attack. That brother who left the school, he never formed a bond with us. He never, his heart never connected with us. Now, who knows why his heart didn't connect with us? Who knew that brother? You know, Officer Rod, why didn't that brother form a bond with you, with the other brothers in Canada, with the other brothers in the UPK all around the world? Why didn't he form a bond? Go ahead, Urad.
Salaki, sir. It's Officer Zabaja.
Salaki.
Khan, no sweat, sir. He didn't form a bond with us, sir, because he loves some stinking African in the world, sir.
Give him a hand. Give him a hand. That's right up. And that's the precept I'm going to go over. What happened with that sodomite who left the truth, with that coward, Christ told us 2,000 years ago that was going to happen. And I'm going to read about it right now. That's what happened. He could not form a bond with us because there was someone else of another nation who would not let him bond with us. A bond you read.
Khan, Matthew chapter 13 and verse 19. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not,
and does
then
what?
Cometh,
and does
understandeth it not.
This is Christ, man, giving us a parable on why brothers leave the truth, on why sisters leave the truth. There are people in the truth who don't understand it. They don't understand it. They dress like they're in the truth. They come to class, but they don't really understand the truth at all. No one that understands the truth could ever leave it. And you'll look at them and you'll go, man, this brother said it was One West forever. This brother said he loved the truth and loved, the UPK. How could he leave? I mean, it'll confuse you. Well, let me help you. He didn't understand what he was saying. He doesn't know what love is. How can someone love you when they have no idea what the concept even is? They don't know. It's no different than a woman who tells you she loves you and then goes out and becomes a whore. Well, when she said she loves you, she never understood what love is. She doesn't know what that is. She's saying it, but she doesn't understand it. Well, that brother that left the truth, he took his oath. He said he was in the UPK, but he had no idea what it meant. Keep going.
Khan. Then cometh the wicked one.
Read it from the top.
And catcheth away that which... Khan. Then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away...
From the top.
Khan. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart.
What's your name again, officer? The one that said about the African. Go ahead. What's your name?
Salaki, sir. Officer Zabaja.
Zabaja, that's exactly what you said. When someone hears the word of the kingdom, but they don't understand it, then cometh that wicked one to catch away that which was sown in his heart. This officer, you sowed the spirit of the kingdom in his heart. You taught him the truth. You brothers taught him, man. And you guided him. Like a father would love a child, you taught him. But you know what? Because he didn't understand the truth. Read it again, Abun.
Khan. Then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart.
That's what happened to him. Then that wicked one, and in his case, who was a wicked one? Some stinking African who he owned a food truck with a hot dog truck. Some old hot dog smelling African. He betrayed you for a African hot dog seller. And you can imagine what he was going through. Every time he was in class, that African was watching the class online, coming to him saying, well, listen, if you want to be in business with me, if you want to sell hot dogs with me, you have to leave that group. Listen, I have the mustard, you have the ketchup, but we can't sell hot dogs if you're going to be in that hate group. If you're going to be in that cult, how are we going to sell hot dogs? I got the buns and I have the mustard, but I can't give it to you because you're in that hate group. So meanwhile, because he grew up, in poverty and I'm sure he had some dream of being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He had some dream of it. So then he's in a betwixt. So then what does he do? He leaves the truth and he joins a fake Israelite group. And that group, the African allows him to be in. The African allows him to be in the fake Israelite group. He can only choose a God that his African partner approves of. Can you imagine that, Abun? Can you imagine some African choosing your God? I thought we had freedom of religion. Does Canada have freedom of religion or not? I don't know. You tell me. That's what they say, right? Well, not really, because if you have an African friend and he disapproves of your religion, he will force you to go back to the religion that he likes, that he approves of. That man who left the truth is a coward, and worse than a coward. He is unable to love, man. He can't love anybody. You brothers are commanded to love each other, man. And no one that loves anyone would ever leave anyone that they say they love. I believe that's primary, right? If I marry a woman and I love her, I will never leave her. If she loves me, she will never leave me. If I have a child and I love that child, I'm not leaving that child. If that child loves me, then that child will never leave what I have taught him or what I have taught her. That's paramount in love, man. Loyalty. And he didn't have it. Why didn't he have it? Because, read that last part again, Abun. Then,
like you, sir. Then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart.
You brothers, you sowed the spirit of love in his mind, in his heart. And I want to commend you for what you've done. Give yourselves a hand. You showed that brother love. You were right. And this is all I ask of you. Don't let his betrayal make you withhold your love from the next brother. Give the next brother as much love as you gave him. When those brothers come into the truth, and some of them are weak and they're alcoholics and they're on drugs, love them, care for them, stay up all night by their bed, helping them go through withdrawal. Come over their house and pray for them and help them with the problems that they have with their wives and with their children. Just because this man betrayed his oath, do not let that stop you from giving your brotherly love to someone else. Can you do that for me?
Khan, I don't want Khan.
I know you will, brother. I know you will.
Khan.
I want you to freely love every brother that comes into that school, every sister, man. And I don't care how sick they are. I don't care if they're broken and destroyed. Extend your love to them, brother, because what you'll find is many people will understand loyalty, love, kindness. They'll understand how we have to separate from the other nations so that we can unify with one another. They will understand that. And they will return your love and give it back to you. They'll love you as much as you love them. Does everyone understand?
Khan, I don't want Khan.
Khan, I don't want Khan.
With that, I'm going to pass the class over to, who do I give it to, again?
Shar Yawan, sir.
With that, I'm going to pass the class over to Priest Officer Shah Yawan. Give yourselves a hand. Once again, just one more thing. I want to also extend, before Shah Yawan takes it, I want to also extend my gratitude on behalf of Commanding General YAHANNA. Commanding General YAHANNA wanted me to thank you, brothers, for your loyalty and your diligence. I can only imagine how difficult it must be to love the truth, being so far from Jerusalem, so far from Harlem, New York, 1 West 125th Street. Wait, one of the brothers wanted me to give the history of the school. Do I have time to do that briefly, Abon, or should I end it now?
No, you can do that, sir. You're free to roll.
I'll do it briefly. What I wanted to say is Commanding General YAHANNA wanted me to thank you for the loyalty that you brothers have had, being so far from headquarters, being so far from Jerusalem, from Harlem. You brothers have shown yourself to be in the exact same spirit that we are. You brothers have shown yourself to be truly men of the UPK, and you are absolutely no cowards. And I want to thank you on behalf of Commanding General YAHANNA. Give yourselves a hand. Okay. The brother asked earlier, one of the officers asked me to give a brief history on the UPK and how it started, okay? I'll give you that briefly. Now, I'm going to go back to about 1969, right? When there was a man called Abba Bibbins who was in another group. I can't recall the name of the group. General YAHANNA knows it. Commanding General YAHANNA knows it, but I can't recall it. If you ask me later, I'll go to him and ask him. But he was in another group who was led by Jewish people, meaning oppressors who believed they were Jews. And this group was based in Harlem, New York City. Now, this was not an uncommon thing. Some of you might know that during the time of slavery, slaves who learned to read would use their skill in reading to now read the Bible. And upon reading the Bible, they would make the correlation with slavery in America to slavery in Egypt. And they would see that it was the same thing. And they begin to make songs about it, about the chariots coming to take me home. They begin to sing songs about getting saved, getting delivered from their adversary, because they begin to see that the black people in America had a direct correlation to the slaves in Egypt. Now, one of those men was a man called Nat Turner. Nat Turner began to see that, wait a minute, we're in slavery in America, in South Carolina, and I see that the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt. And he began to know that it was God's will that his people would be free. But in his ignorance, he went out and began to kill oppressors. And he led slave revolts. His slave revolts failed because his own people betrayed him. And then, of course, he was killed. And then they begin to institute very old rules, but they begin to now strictly enforce these rules that no slave was allowed to read. Many people have heard that slaves were not allowed to read. What they don't know is slaves could read anything but the Bible. A slave could read architectural architectural blueprints. Remember, a slave designed Washington, D.C. during the time of slavery. Well, what does that tell you about Benjamin Banneker? Benjamin Banneker was allowed to read architectural blueprints. He was allowed to do math, but Benjamin Banneker was not allowed to read the Bible for himself. Slaves were allowed to read receipts to see how many goods their master would purchase from a store. Slaves were allowed to read different books about anything that might profit their master, that might make their master money, that might make them sell more corn or grow more wheat. They could read things about that, but they were not allowed to read the Bible because our oppressor feared that reading the Bible would reveal to the Israelites that they are the children of God and their slave master is the enemy of God. And they feared that it would cause a slave revolt, much like the one it caused with Nat Turner. The Nat Turner's rebellion was a terrifying tale throughout the South in America. It's hard to understand now, but they were terrified of it happening again. So they began to institute rules to make sure that no slave would ever associate himself or herself with the Israelites in the Bible. Even though they did that, slaves would still, late at night, they would light torches and they would sneak off into caves and they would tie headbands around their head, just like you officers have on. And they would go into the Bible and read. You can find books, remind me on Monday night, and I'll show you the books of the slaves who wore headbands just like you have on right now. And they would sneak into caves and read the Bible with their heads uncovered, wearing headpieces that uncovered the crown of their head. You can find this in books. And they would learn. And many of them had their eyes burned out of their head when they were caught reading the Bible. Then slavery ended. Slavery ended, and Jewish people, abolitionists, meaning people who were against slavery, who came from New York. Jewish people from New York went into the South, and then these black people came out who believed that they were Jews. So then white Jewish people said, oh, you believe you're a Jew? Well, I'm a real Jew. Let me teach you Judaism. And then they would bring black people from the South, from South Carolina, Mississippi, bring them to New York, and they would start synagogues where they would teach the savages how to be Jewish, much like those schools you had in Canada that would teach the North American Indian how to be a real Canadian. Well, Abba Bivens was a member of one of those schools. And Abba Bivens had 7 young brothers who also, I'm sorry, not 7 young brothers. Abba Bivens, I think, had two brothers. One of them's name was Mashah, and Mashah had his son whose name was Ariyah. So Mashah and Ariyah were very young, a young father and a young son who learned under Abba Bivens in this white Jewish school.
Right, sir.
Who you said something?
Colonel, I believe Yaquab was Arya's father. Am I correct?
Yaquab is Mashah's. No, I'm sorry. You're right. What'd you say again?
Yaquab would be Arya's father, sir, if I could. I believe.
So then it was 3 people. It was Mashah, Yaquab, and Arya. They were under Abba Bivens. Abba Bivens was under a Jewish rabbi. Is everybody with me? Right? Okay. But then Abba Bivens began to read that Bible a little more closely. And he began to see the same thing that the slaves saw years before him. That this man who was calling himself a Jew was in actuality an imposter. And that Yaquab and Ariyah, that they were the real Jews. And he began to ask questions during synagogue that began to make the Jewish man very uncomfortable. Questions about the Jews being black. He began to see it through Jeremiah 14:2 that the Jews were black. And so then he told his rabbi, but the Bible says the Jews are black. The Torah says the Jews are black. The rabbi had no answer. He began to go through all of the color scriptures that you officers now learn when you take your test. Those were the exact precepts that Abba Bibbins, Yaquab, and Ariah would confound the Jewish rabbi with. The Jewish rabbi had no answer for those color scriptures that are on your officer's test today. Well, then Abba Bibbins began to see, man, that this is ridiculous. So then Abba Bibbins left that Jewish synagogue and he went into Harlem around the corner about, I think, 125th Street, but around, like, I think it was 6th Street. I can't recall, but it was around the corner from where the school finally ended up. And he opened up his own synagogue there, where he taught that the Jews were black, that our oppressor was the devil, and we had to separate from the other nations. These things the Jewish rabbi would never let him teach. He was so radical. He was so aggressive. Some of you might wonder why the UPK is so aggressive. We're so aggressive because our forefathers passed this aggression down to us. They gave this to us as a gift. Every officer in the UPK is aggressive. This is what our forefathers gave us in inheritance. The world calls it aggression. The Bible calls it the Holy Spirit. They gave it to us. Right. He was so aggressive, the synagogue couldn't handle him. So he went and opened up his own school. Who were his students? His students were, Yaquab, his young son named Ariah, and a lot of other black people. A lot of every black person almost that was in that synagogue left with Abba Bibbins, and they joined him. And they began to go out on the street and teach, right? But then one day, Abba Bibbins had a camp in Newark, New Jersey. And he decided to go out by himself. He went out in Newark, New Jersey by himself. Now, but at this time, it was in the late 60s. And in the late 60s, there was a man named Malcolm X. And Malcolm X was extremely popular with black people who idolized the Arabs, who spoke Arabic, dressed like Arabs, and wanted to be Arabs. And these Arabs believed in murdering people if that person dared to speak against the so-called Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Well, Abba Bibbins, brother, the seed of One West was in his heart. So he went out on the street and he began to speak against the Nation of Islam. He began to speak against Elijah Muhammad and speak against Malcolm X. And he spoke against them because they were men who betrayed their own race to give themselves over to the Arabs. Then later we found out that Elijah Muhammad was in league with the Ku Klux Klan. You can look that up right now on YouTube. Well, Abba Bibbins, man, he was no coward. So he spoke against the Nation of Islam by himself on a street corner in Newark, New Jersey. And Abba Bibbins was killed. Abba Bibbins was murdered that day by the Muslims in Newark, New Jersey. Well, when Abba Bibbins got murdered, everyone in his school said, oh my God, we have to change how we teach. It's too aggressive. Abba Bibbins got killed. All of them scattered. All of them ran. All of them decided to go back to being black but Jewish. All of them put fringes on their t-shirts, yarmulkes and scarves on their heads, and they went to Shabbat, and they became Israelites. his entire organization scattered, except for YAHANNA and his son. And by then, they got other members. By then, they got a man named Lahab. After Lahab, they got a man named Yeshaya. After this Yeshaya, they got a man named Shar. And then later on, a man named Kazak came in and joined them. And when Abba Bibbins got killed, they said, you know what? The Muslims killed Abba Bibbins. And the rest of you decided to lay down your swords because you were in fear that the same thing would happen to you. But 7 men were so angry that anyone would dare come near the Lord's anointed that they decided to go back out on the street, except this time they would bring Qurans and they would open the Quran up and show the Muslims that God's chosen people are the Israelites. That's in Heifer 1 and 22. And then after they showed that, they threw the Quran up and down the block. They stepped on the Quran. They ripped it up in pieces in front of the Muslims. Because these 7 men, I was about to tell you, but you're going to answer the question for me. Instead of leaving the truth when Abba Bibbins got killed, these 7 men were emboldened. They were angry. And they went out on the street with more proof that Islam is a lie that is destroying the minds of black people, so much so that they become murderers and drug dealers. Why did they do that after Abba Bibbins was killed instead of just leaving and going in to save their own lives? Why did they do it? Who wants to answer? Anyone? Yeah.
Salakia, sir. Because there were no cowards?
That's an excellent answer, usually. But for this class, I need you to give me the other answer. You're right, of course. You're right. But, okay, there's a reason they are no cowards. Abba Bibbins was murdered by the Muslims for speaking on the street. Everyone else ran except for 7 men. Everyone else left. They went back to being Jewish. These 7 men were no cowards because, officer?
Salakia, sir. They loved their brother, sir.
Give him a hand. Give him a hand. 7 men loved Abba Bibbins enough to continue his work and to improve upon it, to increase it. 7 men said, you know what, we're not leaving. Instead, when everyone left, they couldn't afford the building they were living in. So they decided to go around the corner to a cheaper building that they could afford. And they would sit in that building for 5 years playing bid whist. I still don't even know what in the hell bid whist is. Officer.
Salakia, sir. Bid whist is like spades, sir.
Oh, damn. Give him a hand. I never knew.
God, sir.
Because I know the story as if I was there, but I don't know what bid whist is. Well, they went and they played bid whist for 5 years. And they drank Manischewitz wine and Jack Daniels. And ate fried chicken. 7 men by themselves. Until 5 years later, their first generation came into the school. And their best student in that first generation was a man named YAHANNA. And he learned from those 7 men. And the address of the school that they moved into around the corner from that building was 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. The place that I was born, the place we all were born. They moved into that building and they continued the work of the brother that they loved, though they lost him. And then Ariel began to search out the scriptures and he found the 12 tribes chart. One day Ariel was working a construction site and he fell down an elevator shaft and he was paralyzed for a year. And so all he could do was study. And he went through all of his notes and all of the records and all of the archaeology. And he saw, wait a minute, the Puerto Ricans, not only are we Jews, but the Puerto Ricans are the chosen people of God. Here's the proof right here in the Bible and in history. The Mexicans are the chosen people of God, the North American Indians, the people from Guatemala, from Argentina to Chile, right? From the people from Panama. He began to see that the people of South and North, South and Central America were the 12 tribes of Israel. And he had the proof because he fell down an elevator shaft and he stayed home paralyzed with nothing to do but read and research. And then another brother, Kazakh, he searched out the scriptures and he had proof that the chariots of God were actually the things that people called flying saucers. That when the slaves were singing about the chariots coming to carry them home, that they knew that their salvation came from chariots in the sky, chariots of fire in the sky. And Kazakh began to get all the proof that the so-called UFOs were the flying saucers and everything we teach today. And then Commanding General YAHANNA came into the truth. And this is the amazing innovation that Commanding General YAHANNA gave to the brothers who gave him the truth. Commanding General YAHANNA brought the true spirit of brotherhood into the UPK. That's what he did. Commanding General YAHANNA was an innovator from the beginning of understanding brotherhood, of understanding how brotherhood works and how we are all knitted together with our love for each other. Commanding General YAHANNA understood brotherhood and he innovated it in the truth and incorporated it with everything else we teach: kindness, generosity, and forgiveness. And that's what he added to what those 7 men gave him. And then since then, brother, we have been on a tear to conquer and destroy, to tear down strongholds, to raise up the poor and the afflicted, to take the man in the dirt and raise him up and make him a pillar of the earth. And now that work has traveled to Canada. The work that started with Abba Bibbins now is in your country, in your city. And now we expect you to put your life on the line as the men have done before you, because I have made my choice. Does everyone understand? With that, I'll pass the class over to Priest Officer Shawan. You got it, warrior. Shalom, Akim. Also, Akim, as you know, anybody, if you need me, give me a call, all right?
Khan, so like, sir, if I could real quick, Awakanya, Barak, Yahweh Shem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatha.
Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatha. The water, Akim. The water to you. The water, you can kill it.
We're going to give the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We're the I.S.U.P.K. Start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find that in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, Free will offering for priests is not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like, please give. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the memorial of blowing of trumpets. You can find that in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 24 to 25. And that's going to be on Monday 6, September Monday 6 of 2021. With that, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M, which means stand. Going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat. I.M.A.J.M Barak. Yah Bashim Ashai Brakatah. Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. Going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, I.M.A.J.M Shabbat. I.M.A.J.M Barak. Yahweh Shamar Al-Quran Bashim Ashai. Yad Yamatah. Class dismissed.